Education. This is, again, a question of inputs versus outputs. Bureau of Indian Education, which is, this is going to be a fun one for me, a fun in the sense that I like tackling challenging problems. In North Dakota, we had a separately elected superintendent of public instruction. She was a great partner. We worked together on all kinds of things. She cared deeply about outcomes. But one of the things that we really couldn't touch in our state was the few BIE schools that we had. There's tribal schools, there's public schools, and there's BIE schools. And it's just the fact. I know we've got hardworking, dedicated, committed people inside of Interior that work in BIE, and I'm looking forward to working with them. But I also know that it's also a fact that in many places, in many states, the BIE schools are the ones that have the most dollars going in and have some of the lowest outcomes coming out. And that's something we just have to, look at. We have to make sure that our focus is on the students. Those 125,000 students that across the country that are going to BIE schools, they may represent a small portion of that local population, but they're 100% of our future. And we got to make sure that our focus is on that. Whether it's Indian Health or BIE, we got to make sure that we're talking about healthcare for the people that we're serving, and we're talking about education for the students. If it's a jobs program for the adults, then we got to say, let's do other economic development to find great jobs for the adults as opposed to trying to preserve jobs in these things so that the dollars can go towards the education or towards the healthcare components. Healthcare, of course, not part of Interior, but it's certainly key because, again, life expectancies, incidence of diabetes, fetal alcohol syndrome. I mean, the list is long, and then there's the things that we've got to address, and certainly you can't do education well. And again, I've shadowed as part of the job as governor. I would call up schools and I'd say, I'm coming, the night before, I'm coming, you pick a student, I'm going to go to every class with them. I did that at Solon in Standing Rock one day. And I went to every class. I was late for gym class because I forgot my tennis shoes in the car. That was kind of a throwback to high school. I had to run out and grab those, come back in. But I was there. I mean, there was a kid in the classroom that had a hoodie on, was sleeping on the floor while the rest of the kids were doing their work. And I didn't say anything to the instructor. I was just there to observe. But afterwards, I said, "Tell me about that." And he just said, "Well, he's in a situation, issues with parents, father left, mother, dealing with the disease of addiction, living with grandparents, bouncing around, doesn't know where he's going to be at night, and sometimes, nobody can learn if they haven't slept. So if he's in my classroom, I just let him sleep on the floor, wearing a hoodie in North Dakota in the wintertime." And I'm like, okay, so, we got challenges. I've been there, I've seen them. That was a public school, that wasn't a BIE school, that was a North Dakota public school. There's things we could do to work there, but I just want to say we've got to, the president's got a very clear vision about providing every child, regardless of background or location, the opportunity for a high-quality education. And that's why on January 29th, he signed an executive order about expanding educational freedom and opportunities for families. And this directs a number of agencies to prepare a plan. When that would put together, then if you're a BIE student and that federal money, if this plan could include that the dollars follow the student, so that the dollars, instead of going to the school, could go to the student could say, hey, there's a great public school down the road, there's a great private school down the road, I could take those dollars and go there, because we want choice for every family in America. Every family in America should have the choice of where their kids go, and if we can get to this point where the dollars follow the student, that would be great. That's the dream. So anyway, every family ought to have the freedom and the resources, including the financial resources, to choose the educational setting that best fits the needs of their children. So we've got work there. So we've talked about economic development, we've talked about law enforcement, we've talked about education.